Senator Ted Cruz from the great state of Texas joins us now. Senator, how are you, sir?
Glenn, it's great to be with you.
So I watched Blinken yesterday testifying in front of Congress about how he hasn't stranded anybody, how he and the State Department have only been working hard with these charities to be able to get those planes out of there. Ted, there is nothing further from the truth, and I believe you have been working with us. You know the truth of that. He lied under oath to the American people multiple occasions. But if you need any evidence on how the State Department has been thwarting our every move, you let me know. But I think you already probably have that.
Well, I do, and Glenn, you're exactly right. The State Department has been actively working against valiant efforts to rescue Americans from behind enemy lines, to rescue them from Afghanistan, and no one has done more to make that happen than you have, Glenn. Let me thank you for your incredible leadership, putting resources on the ground to help people in crisis and help people when our own government cut tail and ran and wasn't there to help them, which they should have been.
I appreciate you saying that. There are, as you know, thousands of people that we have left behind, green card holders.
Yes.
We have,
Yes.
He said yesterday there were only 100 people left. Ted, I have more than on one manifest, more than 100 people that are blue passport holders. And this State Department will not do anything. They laughed at us and mocked us. They have openly mocked us on trying to get these people out. When we asked them, what paperwork is it you need this time? They said, well, there's a paperwork that was I think it was released August 28th, and everybody needs to have that paper. And I said, not me, but one of the people said, where do we get that? And the State Department said, at the embassy. This was last week. When we said there is no embassy, they openly laughed at us and said, well, you'll have to figure that one out, won't you?
You know, the sad thing about how this administration has approached the entire issue of Afghanistan is that it has been political from day one. It has been all about the speech Joe Biden and his political handlers wanted to give on September 11th. And they ignored every other consideration. They ignored the military considerations. They ignored the safety considerations. They inexplicably gave the Bagram airfield to the Taliban, essentially gift-wrapped it and handed it over. Had we kept that
to China,
we would have had a safe and secure runway,
yes.
Actually 2 runways,
yep.
from which to conduct evacuations, and the horrific suicide bombings that happened would not have succeeded at the level they did because Bagram was built to withstand terror attacks. But their approach during the evacuation, after the withdrawal, and today has been all politics all the time. And so when it comes to assisting removing either U.S. citizens or green card holders, of whom there are thousands that are behind enemy lines, this administration views their existence as an inconvenient truth, that every person you bring out of there, Glenn, highlights their failure.
Yes.
And so sadly, it is partisan operatives that are engaged in spin control instead of the United States State Department having the backs of Americans, and it is disgraceful.
What is happening even on our own soil here? They have brought people in that were not green card holders, were not SIVs. We don't know who's here now on our own soil. They did such a horrible job at vetting. And it is amazing to me because we're held to a remarkable standard. They don't seem to care. And so now we have them on our Air Force bases where people over in Germany can come and go at will and leave the base and come back. Here in America, I don't know if it's the same, but I know we have the same kind of problem on vetting these people, and we have a border that is being overrun. This is straight out of Gibbons and the decline and fall of the Roman Empire.
Glenn, you are exactly right. Number one, on the vetting, their vetting was extremely poor, in many cases non-existent. One of the things we're seeing people brought in here who had records with terrorism. We're seeing one person brought in who'd been convicted of rape. And tragically, we are seeing grown men arriving from Afghanistan with children that they claim are their child brides, adult men who have little girls they claim are their wives, and they are sexually assaulting these girls with the blessing of the State Department. And you mentioned that they can come and go on the bases in Europe. Well, unfortunately, they can here as well. 2 weeks ago, I was out at Fort Bliss in El Paso. In Fort Bliss, they are standing up and building housing for up to 10,000 Afghan refugees. I toured it by helicopter. They were bringing them in at the time. The planes were landing every couple hours. I asked the commanding general, I said, what's the security on the base? He said, there is no security. There's no perimeter. There's no fence, because this is not a detention facility. Every one of these can leave anytime they want. Dozens of them had left already, and this was just a few days into their arriving. He said one guy literally called an Uber and took an Uber to downtown El Paso. They had no idea where he was. And these guys have no idea whether they're bringing in al-Qaeda or al-Nusra or other radical Islamic terrorists. And tragically, I pray that the consequence of this dereliction of duty is not a terror attack or a suicide bombing in an American mall or restaurant, or bringing the kind of violence that we see over there, bringing it at home, because Joe Biden and his administration are not doing their jobs.
Let me switch subjects. We're now having Biden say that he is going to the more sensible Republicans to talk to them about the filibuster. What? I'm assuming you're not getting the call from Joe Biden.
I suppose I should be complimented that I didn't make the cut of the more sensible Republicans.
Right.
Look, this is, it's really sad. I mean, I've known Joe Biden for about a decade now. He was vice president when I was elected to the Senate. He swore me in. He was always a nice, affable guy. He was Uncle Joe. That's been his currency since the day he got elected to the Senate 600 years ago. The Biden we have today is unrecognizable. He has become
Uncle Joe, just a 1950s understanding of Uncle Joe.
He has become an American Caesar, and an American Caesar who's angry that his subjects dare defy him. You're seeing over and over again, listen, this vaccine mandate is utterly and completely lawless. There is zero presidential authority to order every American to undertake a health care decision that he's decided you need to take. There's zero basis in law for it. Now, listen, I'm someone who believes in vaccines. I've been vaccinated. My family's been vaccinated. But it's your damn decision whether or not to get vaccinated. And Joe Biden has no right trying to force you or me or our families to make those kinds of health care decisions. And the thing that is galling, Glenn, he knows it. He knows it's lawless. But he issued the order anyway because he knows the litigation will take weeks or months or years, and by that time most people will just have complied with his lawless decree. That is the definition of abuse of power.
Why can that not go right to the Supreme Court? Why isn't there something? I mean, that is so unconstitutional, and they are using OSHA. And if OSHA can get away with this, OSHA can get away with anything, literally anything. Why can't the Supreme Court take this up?
Well, the challenge to the Supreme Court taking it up, there's a whole series of legal standards that basically require that a case be ripe, that it be an actual case in controversy, that the injury be concrete and immediate, and that an individual who's challenging the case have standing. And I think what the Biden administration is doing, and they have smart lawyers advising them, they're taking their sweet time promulgating the OSHA rule. So they've announced it. But right now, somebody who's at home who says, well, I'm facing the threat of this mandate, there's a good chance a court would say, well, it's not clear what exactly they're going to do, and it's not clear how it's going to impact you, so we, the courts, can't resolve it until there's a clear and concrete injury on you. And as they delay weeks and months, most of the Fortune 500 is eager to do it anyway. It's an excuse for them to blame, oh, it's not our fault. The government made us do it. And it's an excuse because they know the big employers are looking for a way to do it anyway, and they're counting on 99% of the people being faced with a choice: get this vaccine, whether you want it or not, whether your doctor says it's the right decision for you or not, or be fired. And that's fundamentally wrong.